Hello everyone, this is Kyle from Teacher's Teacher, and in this video I want to give you all a quick tutorial about using a really cool program called Jamboard. So you can see that right now I am in my Google Drive. So if I want to make a new Jamboard, or make a new jam, you could also say, I'm going to go up to this new button, I'm going to click on new, and then I'm going to scroll down here, or I guess move down here to this button that says more. And then I'm going to go down to where it says Google Jamboard, and I'm going to open that up by clicking on that icon. Now you can see right away this looks, very, very plain and simple. And the basic idea behind this program is that Jamboard is an interactive whiteboard. So, think of that whiteboard in your classroom. You can pick up a marker, you can write on it, you can draw on it, etc. The cool thing with this program, though, is because it is, Google affiliated and connected to your account and also your school network, is that you can share this program with your students and you can give them access to edit this. So all of your students, even if they're, at home or in different places around the building or in different seats in your classroom and they all have a device, they can all access and create and edit and add information to this Jamboard all at the same time in real time. So it's pretty cool. So let's just go over the basics really quick. Just like any other program, on the top left, I want to click on this and I want to give this a name so we know how to organize it. So I'm just going to say jam number 1. I'm going to hit OK. And now if I go back to my Google Drive and I actually refresh this really quick, I should see that jam number 1 in here as a document, and I have the icon right here telling me that this is a Jamboard document. So I have that opened and saved, so I'm good to go. And now anything that I add to this, it's just gonna automatically save no matter what. So I have a couple settings here up at the top. Now I have these arrows that are the undo and redo arrows, and I was gonna get to this in a bit, but we can just draw something now. So let's say I draw 2 lines. I can undo the last edit that I did, or I can, if I got rid of something and I want to bring it back, I can redo that so it is still there. So I'm just going to undo both of those so I have my clean slate here. Now, this next piece here, you can zoom. So if you want to mess around with how far you're zoomed in with what you're drawing, you can do that as well. So you have that option there. And let me undo that, get rid of that. Now I have this other button here called background, and this you can actually set up to change the background of your board. So you could, have it be this chalkboard in which you can kind of change the color to like a white, like chalky color, so it looks like a chalkboard. If you want your students to write things, let's say that your students have a touchscreen device with a type of pen that they can use to write on the screen. So you can actually have this kind of lined paper here, so you can have your students practice writing kind of whatever you want, letters, etc. So that's pretty cool. Let me get rid of, so this actually changes the background changes that you have as well. I have other things like a graphing grid if you want them to create a graph and plot points and things like that, all hand drawn. You can do that as well. So we got some pretty cool options up there that you can explore. And then this last button here is to clear the frame. So if I have like anything on here, anything crazy, I have a whole bunch of people editing this, I can just hit clear the frame and it'll wash it away, everything except for the background. So it's kind of like that big eraser feature that you have there. Now, something else that's really important, I'm going to put this back to our normal whiteboard here. Up at the top, you can see that it tells you what whiteboard you are on. So a cool thing about this program is that you can have multiple boards, just like in your classroom. If you have a board on the front wall, a board on the back wall, people working on different boards at the same time, it's kind of the same idea. And I can click on this to see how many boards that I have available. So this board right here, right now I just have one, which is, if I get rid of that, this one that I'm on. So if I write hi on here, it should also pop up there, barely, but that's okay. Now, if you want to add another board, you can do one of two things. You can either create a frame by hitting this arrow, which will kind of toggle one to the right, or if you have this setting open, you can hit this plus sign and it'll add one either to the right or to the left. So if I add one here, well, now I have a second board. You can see that is blank, and let's say I want to change the background of this board to the graph. So this is board number 2, and if I toggle to my previous frame, this is board number 1. So you can have, I believe, up to 20 boards at once, and if you want a bunch, you could literally just keep clicking. And now I say I have 12 of them, and you can move them around, and you can use these arrows to kind of click and drag to kind of scroll through. Another feature that's really cool about this is if you want students to work on their own board, and let's say that you have something set up for them, like you have a question, and like a math question, and you want them to write out the answer. Instead of, okay, you have 20 students, so you need 20 boards. So you want the same question on every single board. So there's a really easy way to copy and paste it. So if you have your board created and you have it highlighted in the section up at the top right here, when you click the expand frame bar, you can go up to these snowman buttons when you have this specific board highlighted, because this is the one that you want to copy. You click on that and you hit duplicate, and it'll create another copy of that same board, and it'll usually shift it to the right. So now, like, this is board number 3, so I can erase this 2. I can put a number 3 here, so I know that, okay, this is student number 2, this is student number 3, and all that question and everything is there for them to work on this. Now let's take a second to look at this sidebar, because this is how you're gonna mainly interact with the board itself. So the first option here is you have a pen feature, and with the pen feature you have a couple different colors that you can use to change, and you can draw, and you have a few different styles of pens. So the first one is actually just called a pen, then you have a marker, you have a highlighter, and you also have a brush. So these are going to look different based on what you choose. This is the highlighter, and then this one would be the marker. So it's a little bit thicker, it's a bit of a thicker line than the pen feature. So you have those different features to draw, and all of those, including the highlighter, they have the different colors there. The highlighters shows a bit more of like a vibrant neon-ish color for you to highlight. Now, right below that we have our eraser, and the eraser feature is, you can't really change the size of it. It is all just one size, but it's never going to erase the background that you have, but it will erase anything else in terms of what you have drawn on the board by just clicking and dragging over it. Just click and drag and it'll erase anything that's there. Okay? Then you have just your normal select feature. And this is really just for, clicking around so you don't actually edit anything. And you can use the select feature to move things around like images or sticky notes. So this next feature is the sticky note feature, which is kind of cool. So you can click on that, and this actually generates a sticky note for you to type into, you or your students to type into, and you can actually change the color of it or have it be transparent with no color. So I'm going to pick a green color here, and I'm going to hit save, and you'll see that I hit cancel, and it generates this sticky note. Now the sticky note that I made there, I can turn it with the top left corner. I can resize it with the bottom 2 corners. And if I click our snowman button on the top right, I can choose to edit it, which will bring me back to this window. I can duplicate it to make another copy of it, or I can delete it if I want to. So sticky notes are a pretty cool feature. So if you're like brainstorming, you want your students to brainstorm something, to get their ideas out there, and you maybe don't want them to hand draw it or use their mouse or something to draw it with the pen feature, you can always have them write on a sticky note. And it's nice to, I'm just gonna put some random stuff there, to make the ones with a transparent background, which you can kind of add to or kind of put anywhere. And then we also have another feature here on the left-hand side to add an image. And you can add images straight from Google search. So if I'm going to type in cells, I can pull an image of a cell, click on it. So I search for it, I click on it, I hit select, and this is going to come straight into my Jamboard after it loads for a second, of course. So now I have this image of this cell here. So, if I have this task where I want students to annotate this image, I could have this image in the center. I could make a bunch of copies of the same thing, and then students can come in and use their pen feature, and they can annotate, they can write things, they can add to it, etc. So pretty cool to add images, and you can also hit the select feature to click and move things around, including the images and the sticky notes. And again, you can also resize or rotate the image in any way that you want to as well. You can duplicate it, etc., etc. Basically everything that you can do with the sticky note. And then finally, at the bottom left, we have this laser feature. And this is a drawing tool, but the cool thing about this tool is that a second or so after you draw, the line actually disappears. So when I have my students using this, I use this with remote learning, and they were presenting their annotations to the class. So they were using this feature as they were talking, and they were saying like, okay, this specific part in the cell membrane, and they would just circle it as they were talking to just direct everyone watching to exactly where they were looking on their Jamboard. So it's just a way to direct people to look at a certain spot without ruining or adding any type of permanent mark that you're gonna have to delete later. And finally, there's two more things to go over. So I have my snowman button here that says more actions. So this is just a way to kind of open up the settings for this. So it gives me a few options. I can rename it from here, but I can also rename it by double clicking the name on the top left. I can download this as a PDF. So if you're somebody who is using this during a live session, or maybe you're writing notes out to your students of how do you, you're a chemistry teacher and how do you balance this equation, and you're using this because you want to write on it because you have a device that can do that. You can download it and save it as a PDF and post it to your Google Classroom or something like that. You also have the option to save the frames as an image. So you can save it as a PDF, or you can save it as an image, or you can just remove a frame here, or again, make a copy of a frame. There's another way to do that. And then if you want to check for any updates that they have for the program, and if you want to send them any feedback, any maybe changes that you would like them to make, you can do that there as well. And then finally, we have our share button, which is extremely important. And when you are sharing this with people, so if I'm sharing this with fake teacher number 1 at gmail.com, hit enter. Now, if you want them to be able to edit this, you need to make sure that they are an editor. And it's super, super important, especially if you're doing this with your students. And if you're sharing this with your students as, material on your Google Classroom, let's say, right off the bat, they're not going to be able to edit the document. So what you need to do is share it with them via Google Classroom, then come back to this Jamboard document and click on this share button, and then find where it says that specific group for your Google Classroom. And then you just need to make sure that it's toggled on for them to be editors. So then everybody who is clicking on that link from the Google Classroom taking you to this program, they actually have the opportunity to edit the document, which is pretty cool. And if you are kind of spectating everything that's happening, if you click this button right here, as people are on the document, as other people are on the document editing it, you're gonna see little circles pop up on the top with their icon. So you can see okay, I got 3 people working on number 4, I got 5 people working on number 3. And you can kind of see which student is on which frame, because it does actually show you which frame that they're actually on as they are editing and making changes. So that's all I have for Jamboard. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and hopefully you are thinking of some ideas of how you can make this work for your classroom, either in an in-class setting or a remote learning setting. I think this is a really powerful program that you can really do a lot with if you get creative. So thanks so much, and I'll see you for the next one.